Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. I hope this Monday morning finds you well. It's 19 degrees here already. It's 7:45 as I'm recording this. 7:45 in the morning and it's 19 degrees already. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, and there's clear blue skies today. It's fantastic. Anyway, Celtic and the Celtic are going to make a little financial gain this summer, and not from where you expected. Celtic are going to gain £560,000. Oh, just pure cash right into the coffers. The board will love that. It comes as part of UEFA's compensation for players that are playing in the European Championships, the Euros. So for each player that is selected, the club will earn £140,000. The Celtic have 4 players, so that's £560,000 extra. Yeah, that's somebody's wages for a year. Is it? No, it's not, is it? It's a couple. By the way, actually, thinking about it, right? Take that 560 grand Celtic, right? And then put that in at the youth development side, or put that and give that to wage increases to young guys that are coming through. And say to them, look, this is what you could get. This and explain to them. Just explain to them. Just I would use the carrot thing. You know, you'll get this wage increase. This is what happened. You can go and play for Scotland at the Euros or World Cup. You never know. Anyway, Kyogo, there was a lot of speculation about Kyogo. He has been quizzed on his return to Japan. Kyogo admits he would love to play for his country one day again, but hinted it's unfinished business to take care at Celtic first. Kyogo's going nowhere. We all know he's going nowhere, but it's all good headlines, isn't it? It's I've got to read all the headlines that's out there so that you don't have to. Anyway, recent rumbling says that Celtic would want to cash in. They're not wanting to cash in. They've put a 25 million price tag on to scare people away, allegedly. But no one is going to come out in Celtic and say that. They won't. But it is what it is. It's silly season, and if Celtic, and by the way, if Celtic do want 25 million to put people off, they're well within their right to say, you know what? If you want them, we want 25 million for them. As simple as that. That's how it's going to cost us an absolute arm and a leg to try and get a decent replacement. With no one else in the team, we're still trying to get the deal for Adam Ida. We'll talk about him just shortly. But at 29-year-old, you're probably thinking, yeah, maybe 8, 9, 10 million tops for the ex-VCL Kobe player. But Celtic don't want to lose him. It's as simple as that. And we're trying to build a team. We're trying to build a team that's going into the Champions League. And trying to build a team means that we need to keep all our best players. Now, one of our best players that did not get picked for his national team. A lot of people thought he would get picked for his national team. But Mark Reaper has been sharing his thoughts on Matt O'Reilly's exclusion for the 20. See, when you think about it, why are people surprised? Because he was a late call-up into the squad initially to the sort of overall squad that was possibility of being picked. And he's only played twice for Denmark. So, you know, it's no big deal that he's not making it. And I think it can play into Celtic's hands. And I still think it plays right into Celtic's hands so that he's not out there showing how good he is in the Euros. Because if he was showing how good he was at the Euros, if he picked up his game and he did get a game at the Euros, you'd have a lot of the bigger clubs going, do you know what? He can actually do it at the bigger level. So let's just hope that he's still here to come the end of the transfer window. There's a couple of months to go yet. We're going to have months of this speculation. But let's just hope he is still here and he goes into the Champions League. And he'll be thinking as well at the back of his head, do I leave Celtic to go to a team that isn't in the Champions League? And he'll seriously think about that. He's a level-headed guy. He is a level-headed guy. And he'll be thinking, I've got a load of games in the Champions League. You know, but Celtic turned down Atletico Madrid because they wanted to take me on loan and there wasn't a good amount of money, and I wanted to stay because I wanted to win the league with Celtic. But the Champions League is where it's at. That's where all the good players are. And not just on a European sense. You know, the players from all around the world are playing in Champions League sides. That's where you really want to test yourself. It's fine going to the Euros and all the rest of it, and the Euros is a fantastic competition, but the Champions League, let's be honest, the Champions League is where a player really wants to test himself. And I think that the fact that Matt O'Reilly didn't make the 26-man squad, I think it all plays into Celtic's hands, and it makes it a little bit easier to hopefully fend off people this summer? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Do you think it's a good thing that Matt O'Reilly isn't at the Euros because of what I said? Because if he was at the Euros, he would get a lot of attention from scouts from a lot of other teams. And the fact that he's not, it could be a lot easier to keep him. Anyway, moving on to Gustav Lagerbielke. Gustav Lagerbielke, it looks like he may be on his way out of Celtic. We all know that was going to happen anyway. He was one of the players that Brendan Rodgers told back in December that they weren't good enough for Celtic and that they should maybe find another club. Gustav Lagerbielke's agent found that other club, and he was seemingly on his way to the airport when he was told to come back. And the loan agreement that was, or was it a loan or was it even a transfer? We're not actually quite sure, but he was on his way. He was on his way to Italy, and because of Cameron Carter-Vickers picking up another injury, he was told that he couldn't go. But he's now been told that he can go again. I feel sorry for the lad. I do feel sorry for him. And if anyone wants a Lagerbielke t-shirt, I'll give it away for free. As long as you pay for the postage. It's a size large, and yeah. That worked out well, didn't it? I'll need to take it down. Anyway, Stephen Welsh, Nob Rocky are all ahead of Lagerbielke. Stephen Welsh ahead of Lagerbielke. You must say, Brendan Rodgers. The only reason that Stephen Welsh is there was in the Celtic team is because of the Scottish contingency. That's the only reason. That's the only reason that Stephen Welsh is still there and still got a lengthy contract. Because let's face it, I don't think Stephen Welsh is going to walk straight into the first team anytime soon. Can he progress as a player? Well, maybe slightly. We could prove us wrong one day, but he's a good player to have in backup. Let's just say that. And Celtic are looking to recoup the cash that they paid Elsenborg last summer for Gustav, which is in the region of about 3 million. So it won't take Celtic a lot of money to get Gustav Lagerbielke at the door. They'll probably sell him for 2.5 million and take a hit on it. And it's terrible because they'll be taking a hit on his wages. And that's, so I mean, it's a loss. Do you know what I mean? It's whatever way you look at it, it is a loss. Anyway, and been a lot of people still talking about the fact that Brendan Rodgers was pictured with Klopp, and it's funny because when you read the guy that got his picture taken, he's a journalist. He knew that Brendan Rodgers. This is what gets me about something. Sometimes you just wish that it was a nice fan moment. You know, it was a guy that bumped into the two of them walking along the road. It wasn't. It was a fucking journalist who knew that Brendan Rodgers was on the island. He phones him and says, "Do you fancy meeting up?" And he says, "Yeah, we're out for a walk. Me and Kloppy's out for a walk." As you do. You know what I mean? It's like, "Aye, I'm out for a walk with Klopp. You want to fucking come and meet us?" Every day is shit. So, I mean, he was a fucking journalist. He knew that he was going to be there. He was over covering the Northern Ireland game, and he went out and met up with them. There is no picture evidence to say that he was actually at the Northern Ireland game. Anyway, we'll put that one to bed. It was a nice little fucking moment yesterday. We all thought, yeah, there's a nice guy getting pictured. He's a fucking journo. Fucking nonsense. Anyway, we move on. The Irish Independent has been speaking about Adam Ida. Yeah, the Irish Independent says he's been speaking about his time at Norwich previously, and he said that he was probably used as a scapegoat. Adam Ida sets the record straight on how he is perceived. A scapegoat, the woes of the club of Southern England, but a hero in the green side of Glasgow, it goes on to say in the Irish Independent. It's been a testing few months for Adam Ida. The Cork native says he has emerged stronger from a challenging spell which threatened to derail a very promising career at one stage. With 2 goals in the last 2 games and a winner for Celtic in the Scottish Cup final, and the opening goal in Ireland's 2-1 defeat for Hungary, which ended the 14-game of unbeaten run for the Hungarians. God, Jesus. Anyway, Ida is in a good place as he prepares for the final test of the season away to Portugal tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. It is tomorrow night, isn't it? Yeah. Let's check the date on this. Yeah, it is tomorrow night. Anyway, he says, "I never doubted myself," said Adam. He said, "I never doubted my career once. I've always been confident, and I'm glad that I've got to show it this season." Ida says, speaking in a quiet corner of the Irish hotel team in Porto, he said, "It's difficult for a young person when they go into the first team. When you score a hat-trick, they have high expectations on you." I'm not saying Norwich was bad, but obviously had a lot of good signs. That's a player that's talking his way out the door, isn't it? That's a player that's talking his way out the door. It is. He's talking in past tense, scenario. I'm not saying Norwich was bad. I obviously had a lot of good times with Norwich. That's a player that's trying to talk his way out the door. Is he trying to talk his way to Celtic? Hopefully, because I want him back at Celtic just for the fact that he scored that goal. Do you know what I mean? He was there and he was in about it. It was a cracking shot from Paulo Bernardo. That will always go down, and I can still see it as plain as day. Paulo Bernardo's getting the ball just after the halfway line, skipping over the Rangers player, running up. Two Rangers players parting like the sea for Moses. Parting like the sea for Moses. Paulo Bernardo takes a shot. The keeper, Rangers keeper, spills it. Jack Butland spills it. The fucking best keeper in Scotland, allegedly, spills the ball. Adam Ida, how's your father? Boom, into the back of the net. Happy days. We go and party like it's night. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, we move on. Calm down, Buzz. Anyway, where he's going on holiday this year? Tell me where he's going on holiday, because there's obviously a lot of talk about the Celtic manager being at his holiday home, not far from Santa Ponza. Are you going to Santa Ponza this summer? Tell me in the comment section. Anyway, back to Adam Ida. Adam Ida says, overall, I've enjoyed Norwich, which is the club that brought me up and where I started my career. I only can say good things about them. It's part of football culture. When you go into lulls in your football career, you probably, in the last 2 years, I was having those lulls. The move to Celtic revived the spirits after a tough time at Carroll Road. For me going forward, the new environment was unbelievable for me. I have everyone behind you supporting you. It was probably what I needed at this time of my career, admits Adam. I struggled a bit in Norwich, which was probably in that period, it says, but pointing, he was also accused of being very injury prone. Interesting. He was accused of being very injury prone. A lot of people say that I had a lot of injuries, but I've only had 2 injuries in my career. I don't know where this comes from, that I'm very injury prone. Probably the media and the fans saying that I've always been injured. But I've had 2 injuries, 2 contact injuries. I've never pulled a muscle in my career. That's a strange one for me. That's a player that's had enough of Norwich, isn't it? Adam Ida, he's like, I've done my time. I've grown up now. I've done my time. I've paid my dues. You know, you give him a chance in football, and fair play to you, but it's time to move on. That's what that says. Just reading between the lines, anyway. Reading between the lines. It took me a long time, Adam goes on. It says, Adam was one of the foundation stones of Stephen Kenny's era with Ireland. It was a vote of confidence for the young Adam, who starred in Kenny's first 2 games in 2020. But international football was also a struggle, with Adam playing 15 games without a goal before his first in a 3-1 win over Gibraltar. Now, there you go. It then goes on. His hungry goal set up the win. His strike against Rangers is the only goal of the Celtic game that landed the double. To get a last-minute winner was fantastic. To do it against Rangers was even better, he says. I don't think that you'll ever do it in such a manner. To do it in such a manner was especially good, the fact that it was a cup final. Celtic are a massive club and built off the fans. Playing games like this and scoring the winner, I'm sure the fans will appreciate it just as much as I did. So there's Adam Ida speaking about his time, and a kind of past tense, situation. So it does look like he wants to move on. You know what it is players the club can turn around and say, we don't want to sell you, but the player, I mean, we've had it at Celtic many, many times. If a player wants to go and join a club, they'll make it happen. They will make it happen. So it's just a case of, I think, and not if, maybe when during the window it will happen. You'll probably find it'll be once people are back in training. Because obviously if he's away at the Euros, well, it's not going to happen just then. Anyway, moving on to another Celtic transfer speculation. The headline, Celtic now plotting to sign a strong 65 grand a week ace that Rodgers loves. Oh, yeah, cracker. You're absolutely cracker. There's no chance of Celtic paying 65 grand a week. Not a chance. Not a chance. It goes on to say that Celtic may focus in the summer on keeping hold of the best players, including Matt O'Reilly, etc., etc. And but they need to reinvest wisely any money. They must reinvest. They've got money in the bank. Meanwhile, I like to talk of Kieran Tierney coming in, who left Celtic, who had a kind of up and down season at Real Sociedad. Got injured twice during the season. The bullshit one about Stuart Armstrong. I don't think they're going to sign Stuart Armstrong. Stuart Armstrong's on 65 grand a week. That's a weird flag shite at yourself. Seriously. This is what's wrong with English football. Holy moly. That's it. that's everything that's wrong with the game. Who's Stuart Armstrong on 65 grand a week? What is wrong with the world? What is wrong? What is absolutely wrong with the world? That is madness. Fair play to him. Fair play to Stuart Armstrong for getting 65 grand a week out of an English club. That's absolutely madness. Anyway, that is just absolute madness. There's not a lot of other speculation going on. There's not a lot of headlines going around. It is all going to be around about Scotland this week. Scotland obviously start off the Euros on Friday evening. It will be, I think it's 9 o'clock. And it kicks off in Europe. It'll probably, so that means it'll be 8 o'clock back home in Scotland. And you're going to be watching the game. Still can't believe that. 65 grand a week. Do you know what I mean? That's just madness. That is madness. How Stuart Armstrong, 65 grand a week. And on that note, I'm going to leave you just thinking about that. And I've got a mouthful of coffee left. And on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world. I'm away to do some real work today for the first time in weeks. Anyway, hasta luego.